Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. Welcome back to another Games Jobs live stream. I'm Harry Petch, the community and content manager for Games Jobs Live. And yeah, this is our first portfolio review live stream, which is really exciting. So today I'm joined by two guests from Stellar Entertainment. We have Bethany Brown from a recruitment specialist at Stellar Entertainment, and we have Martin Kirkley, who is the associate art director at Stellar. How are you both doing?
Pretty good. Excited. Nervous.
Awesome. Excellent. Brilliant. Yeah. So, Bethany, Martin, could you both give like a little introduction to what you do at Stellar and what's kind of happening at the studio?
Absolutely.
Start us off.
Sure. Do you want to go first? Off to you.
Okay, cool. So I've been at Stellar for nearly 2.5 years now. I mostly just keep an eye on the art team and relay the direction from the art directors and make sure that they're all happy and having fun.
We love that. I'm Bethany. I'm Bethany. I joined Stellar about 9 months ago now as their recruitment specialist. I worked with them previously for a couple of years beforehand, but I look after everything candidate experience and bringing new people into the studio. A bit about us, I guess. So we're an independent studio. We've got 2 offices, one in Guildford and one in Utrecht in the Netherlands. We've got about 60 people at the moment, and we are looking for a lot more. So yeah, you can have a look on our website for jobs, or you can message me on LinkedIn to have a look at what we've got coming up.
Brilliant. Awesome. So, so the way that today is going to work is we have put out in our newsletter, which you can find if you've not subscribed to our newsletter. If you go down to gamesjobs.live, you can find a newsletter tab, and you can find our monthly newsletter where we put everything out. And as part of that, in recent weeks, we've been putting out a lot of calls for our portfolio reviews, and it's open for any job seekers, whether you're coming in as a junior all the way through into mid-level and senior, to have some industry experts come in and give their thoughts and give their running experience on how they would look at portfolios from the perspective of if you're applying to a role that's available. And if you'd like to be a part of a portfolio review in the future, we're doing 3D art this time, but we're looking to have designers, producers, code, QA, all sorts of different ones going forward. I'm seeing a lot of hellos from the chat. Hi, chat. We've got a link in the description directly to the form, which you can sign in and send us your portfolio and CV. Please redact any like personal identifying information, because that makes my life a lot easier. And the more portfolios we have to review, honestly, the better amount of content we can start putting up on this show. So yes, if you do have any questions for Bethany and Martin, I would recommend please do write in the YouTube chat. But if you're watching this on demand afterwards, please do find us on the Discord, which you can find us on the Discord at discord.gamesjobs.live. And we've got a general chat. Ask us here, and I can forward along any questions that we might be able to answer. But without further ado, we've got sort of 4 or 5 really cool art portfolios today. Some junior, some mid-level. I think we should just kind of get on with it straight away, I think.
Yeah, let's do it.
Good.
Yeah, let's bring up the stream. So our first portfolio we've got is from Emmanuel Yeboah, who is an environment artist, a recent graduate. And as we load up this portfolio, I'm going to pass over to you, Martin. Where do you think where should we start with this?
Let's start right at the top, I guess. So let's jump straight into stylized.
Brilliant. I'm straight in. Got this Nipana environment memory cruise.
Okay.
Brilliant.
All right, so this is nice. It opens up with a nice video showing off the scene, so that's good.
Just scroll down, we seem to get some more stills. A high pass edition.
Final render. Okay. Color plan. Okay. Lighting values. Nice wireframes.
Brilliant.
Always useful. Development process. Is that gonna? we start that from the beginning, please?
Should I full screen it?
No, if you just replay it once it's finished.
Yeah, here we are, right from the beginning for you.
Okay, so that's useful to have. It's a shame it's not got everything right from the beginning, from like the early stages of fleshing things out.
Oh, I think it has. There seems to be a little bit more going down here about some of the materials, I think, or post processing.
The post processing, render layers and whatnot.
Interesting.
Okay.
A little bit more down.
Some reference guide. Okay, that's good.
Brilliant. That's the bottom of the page for this one, Martin.
Okay.
I think question that I'd ask about this. How do you feel about how this is laid out? Because you got this nice little like showpiece on the front, and it kind of seems like as you go down, it sort of goes like backwards in terms of how the progression of it goes. Is that like a nice structure, or would it be? Do you think there might be like a better way to sort of structure this?
No, I think it's structured quite nicely. We've got a video just showcasing the whole scene and its movements and everything, which is really good. Then we have a few stills, and then we start breaking down to the development process. So that's nice. It's not totally image heavy, and it's very focused. A lot of projects can really deviate and go quite broad, but this is very clear. I think what we're missing at the top is just kind of a brief of just what this work is. Because it's got an interesting name, memory cruise and stuff like that. So it would have been nice to just explain what the purpose was for this particular task, why they set it, and what the goals were, really. Whether it was a final major project or something that was set whilst they were studying. But it's nice. It's a little bit dark, but again, with a little bit of text, it'd be nice to just see if there's a reason why they've aimed for that particular that tone. I'm seeing some cables now that look like they're going to nowhere, but that's just me being picky. But no, it's nice. It's can you scroll back down? Because really what we want to see is the technical breakdowns of things. Because
should I go back down to the viewport?
Yeah, this is great. So renders you can really hide an awful lot of stuff for renders. We've seen plenty of fantastic looking portfolios on the face, and as soon as we start turning on the different modes, we can see that things are not the best constructed, and they just wouldn't work within an engine or for a game. But this one seems there's an awful lot of polys in here, so be interested again with a bit of I'd be interested to see why they've chosen to construct certain things in certain ways. So the main building, for example, has got an awful lot of subdivisions, which may be necessary for lighting, but I'm not sure. Pipes as well, and then we've kind of got some blocks at the start which look like they're just flat cubes, which is interesting. It looks like all of them, the foliage as well, is quite heavy on the wireframe. So it doesn't feel like it's totally optimized for a particular game or anything like that. But it's not terrible. It just needs a bit of a cleanup, really, I think, in particular places. But the overall composition, everything is nice. It's very interesting. There's a lot going on, and your eye doesn't land on a particular section. You're looking all over. So there's a lot of visual interest in there. There's some nice storytelling. It would have been just nice to have a bit of context to go with it.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, adding context, these bits, little like bits and pieces that tell you what you're doing. That seems like quite important on a lot of these kind of very visual portfolios. It's
really, I mean, you have a whole space on ArtStation where you can just add that stuff to the side, and you can reference concept if you've followed in that kind of stuff. That's always great to see. If you're actually following a concept, add the links, and then we can compare how accurate you were. And you can add other details as well, how long it took, and any complications that you might have found and managed to overcome. It's interesting. You don't need to write a whole novel, but a couple of paragraphs just to break down your approach to the work is very useful.
Where should we move on to photogrammetry next, or PBR, or
just jump back to all? I'm a very visual person, so normally the things that grab my eye. So lighting wise, the bottom left one, the PBR one, the it's like a restaurant exterior.
Horizon Monteresso Al Mare.
That's the one. Let's take a look at that.
Oh, it's got a little. It does have a bit of a description here, I think.
Here we go. So that's good. So
this is referenced on Emmanuel's CV as well. This is a project.
Fantastic. So awesome. There we go. So this piece was to recreate a fictional alley. Okay. This was made for the background or reimagined to the Gran Turismo Cafe or a first-person walk through a Forza Horizon 4's beauty spot feature. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we're after for all that kind of stuff. Just really just says what the intention was, because then we know. Because then if he just said he was making it for Forza Horizon 4, I immediately would have thought, well, this is a racing game. I hope your assets are kind of adapted to be like that. But he's focusing on the beauty section, the first-person section. So there may be a few extra polish thrown into these assets to make them really pop and make the materials work nicely, and that's fine because it's first person and warrants that extra level of detail. So yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah, so I think this is the that final render as previously, but
okay.
Let's see if there's seems like another angle here.
That's nice.
Angles. Double breakdown on the materials and the modular layout. That's the last image. Let's see if there are. Yeah, that seems to be the bottom. That seems to be the final one included on this. So it doesn't include as like detailed a breakdown as that previous one. But yeah, what do you feel that this kind of structure is quite helpful? Is there anything more that Emmanuel should be sort of adding to this bit?
Things like this are definitely useful for a modular environment because then we can see their approach on how they've created things. Materials, perhaps not the best laid out because they've got a backlight behind them. For those particular things, it's a nice way. Definitely have it on the spheres that is to present them that way for your materials. It's great, but the lightings, you kind of just need a nice soft 3-point lighting. You can just anything that's just default within Substance or Marmoset get the job done. Or better, yeah, if you can throw it into Unreal, which is done here, but the lighting just kind of kills a lot of it. The very flat face on. So yeah, I think the lighting could be improved here for these ones. Again, if you can show it flat out face on as well, or in situ, then that's always good. But we do have the scenes to show that stuff off, so it's not too bad. It's a shame we don't see the wireframes. I do like it with modular kits when they're all laid out and we can see everything. So the screenshot at the bottom, that's really useful to have as well.
Yeah, brilliant. I think so should we take a look at one more really quickly before we move on to the CVs?
Let's go to a photogrammetry one.
Oh, let's go to the photogrammetry one.
Okay, so
Project HCR House of Geometry, still in progress.
Okay.
This one says it's a recreated asset of Hadley Castle, created through the process of photogrammetry in Leighton C, geology by Megascan.
Right. Okay. So this is useful. Already we know what we need to be looking at. That's from the artist because they've highlighted and said, did they make the jet? Did they make the terrain? Did they make the foliage? And that's fine. That's okay as long as we know these things. So it's very dark.
Yes,
so it's triggered to see what we're working on. Okay.
Yes. There's no. I note that there's like not the descriptions as there were previously on these ones.
Yes. Okay.
There seems to be a video included here. I think this is similar, like the progress that we were talking about for the first one as well, included here.
So again, just having that, just a little bit of flavor text underneath the images, just lets us know what this is intentionally for. Okay, the intention's there. That's cool. Okay. Any more? Right. Here we go.
Yeah. There's
right. Drone flight. Now this is useful. This is really useful because photogrammetry is a kind of a niche skill, but it's definitely something that is being used more, particularly by the much larger studios. There are bigger studios have a specialized role for a photogrammetry artist and whatnot. So if you can do this and do this very well, then it's a good skill to have. Not all studios rely on it, so I definitely wouldn't just entirely dedicate yourself to this unless this is definitely something you're incredibly passionate about. And then it might be tricky to break into the games industry, but there are other avenues for photogrammetry artists. But having this stuff here explaining your drone flight plan and the reality capture and whatnot of how you caught it, that's fantastic. And you've got the high poly as well, where you're saying that you captured it at 77 million verts. Wow. And then you managed to crunch that down to 61K. That's good. That's useful because then we know that you're understanding the pipeline of getting this into an engine and from just raw capture footage. So yeah, of all the images so far, that's probably one of the most useful ones. And this is really good as well. So this is just showing off the texture layout that they've got. Okay.
Seems to be their mood board to end off at the bottom.
Okay.
Brilliant.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, perhaps a little bit more context of just where were they investigating this kind of stuff, and what the intent really was for this. There's an awful lot of work in progress ones here. I'd probably cut or beauty shots here, and because they're all really dark, I'd probably trim these down by half until the work's finished, to be perfectly honest, because yeah, you're kind of scrolling down, and sometimes you'll get so far and you'll be like, this is the same thing over and over, and some people will just stop and move on to the next thing, and they won't see those fantastic screenshots at the bottom that say, hey, and here's how I did it. And it's like, wow, okay, that tells me a lot about you and your skills by just those 2 images at the bottom there.
So yeah, so like main takeaways being like include bits and pieces of your process as like small little paragraphs accompanying the photos, and also making sure that it's ordered in the right way that people can very easily see those interesting work in progress shots like close towards everything, so that otherwise, again, people who are looking through this quite quickly, they might end up having that issue of like missing out on the work in progress bits because they're so close to the bottom.
That's right. A lot of people, if you think about the amount of CVs we get through, I'm very lucky because we've got Bethany who filters out a lot of them for us. But there's some companies, some lead artists reviewing CVs, they get dozens of them every day, and if nothing's grabbing them straight away, they will move on to the next one because they just don't have the time, which is the unfortunate truth. So definitely make it clear of what you're showing off here, because we need to see what your skills are and your skill set and your understanding of the task that you've set yourself up in set. And if you can really demonstrate your understanding, that's good for us, because as a graduate for a hire, you're probably going to get paired up with another artist, but we can immediately kind of size up which artist we'll get paired up with, or just how much time that artist is going to need to invest to get you up to speed with the tasks for a project that you could potentially be working on. So the more information that you can present, and really just images can tell us an awful lot, then that will go a long way in making you quite employable.
Fantastic. Thank you for all of that, Martin. Let's move on to Emmanuel's CV now. So I brought up the CV over here. Bethany, just immediately, so off the bat, what are your thoughts on his CV?
Firstly, I love bullet points. Always the first thing I say to people, much like Martin was saying, in that people won't keep scrolling down if they don't see what they're looking for. I think a key point for everybody's CV is pick out the most important piece of information and make them so easy to access so that you're not reading through like a story of what your job has been. So big bonus points for that. Also having split it out with those page dividers. That's what my CV looks like. That's how I would structure one. So definitely with those really clear, really easy to access the bits of information you're looking for. Also, you've got your I know that this is redacted, but great that there's a clear portfolio link at the top of the CV and contact details, because you would be absolutely amazed how many people don't put an email address or don't put a mobile number and still somehow manage to get an application through. So it's always good to have that. I'm not sure if Emmanuel had their LinkedIn, but that's another good one, just to make sure that you have your LinkedIn on there and that you also have your portfolio linked on your or clear on your LinkedIn profile as well. Would be something that I would add. There are a couple of things on Emmanuel's CV that I had a look at. One, I couldn't find what you had, what you graduated with its first 2-1, 2-2, or anything like that. So I've obviously got that you have a degree and when you graduated, but what grade you got, I think, could be helpful and support you with future applications. And really interesting, there's a couple of bullet points. One is in the first paragraph where it says used Word to plan and PowerPoint to present to internal clients. And I would actually suggest there's a few sentences like this. And I think what Emmanuel's trying to do is highlight the systems that they've used, which is great and should absolutely be on there. It's one of the things I've put. Make sure you list the software that you know how to use and how competent you are in them. But I think when you read this, the more important part of that is that you're presenting to internal clients. It's not that you used Word and PowerPoint to get there. It's that you can do that. So I would say try and pick out what skill it is you're trying to get across, or maybe what the more important skill in the sentence is. So presented to internal clients using PowerPoint. To be honest, I'd leave that off. I'd say putting together and presenting to internal clients, that kind of thing. And there's another one slightly further down, which is, it said something along the lines of, here it is, in this last one under senior game collaboration, an issue with lighting optimization occurred. So I would say, again, rather than focusing on maybe the problem, we'd look at the solution and go, collaborated with my team members, delegated or led a team where we were able to rectify issues that came up in lighting optimization. And it just reframes it slightly. So it's not starting off on like, oh, well, this went wrong and this is how we fixed it. It's like, no, it's more proactive. It sounds more proactive in this is how we did it. I'm assuming if you're delegating, you are in charge. So leading a team, dealing with these issues, working with my team to develop these or get through these issues. I just think some of the sentences you could just slightly flip, and it changes the intention, and maybe those skills are more transferable to the job that I'm looking at, is what I'd say. But I'm not, don't take my, if you really love your CV the way it is, that's fine. Just really trying to find things here that could be helpful. Great that you had all your employment details. I think also this comes up, I think, on another CV later, but you've kept in your GCSE results. And I know when you're at school and probably at uni, a lot of people tell you to keep those. And there's nothing wrong with keeping them in there. But I think as you gain more experience, maybe ask yourself if that's still really relevant to what you're doing going forward. Because I'd say that in this instance, your degree and the fact that there's A-levels in graphics communication, they're probably the more relevant things, particularly within the games industry, than having a GCSE in maths, which is still a very valuable qualification. But just making sure that your CV is as tailored as possible to what you're wanting to do. And I love that they're learning to skateboard or are a skateboarder. I can only dream of being that cool.
Fantastic. Do you think like adding those little like bits in terms of interest, that kind of thing, helps like set people apart in portfolios, just that extra bit more?
I do think it helps. I think if you've got a whole half page or a paragraph dedicated to what you enjoy doing on the weekends, probably not. But it does help with starting to build rapport. If I see that I've got something in common with somebody, so if I was interviewing Emmanuel, I'd probably be like, oh, you skateboard, that's pretty cool. It's just a good like conversation point. Maybe in an interview helps both the interviewer and the candidate feel a bit more relaxed if there's not always talking about CV and work. So yeah, absolutely. I think add your hobbies in. Don't need your life story about them, but just need to know the headlines. What do you like doing?
Fantastic. Excellent. I think I think that's all really valuable information. So hopefully, Emmanuel, if you are watching the stream, I think there's a lot of really good action points that you can take away from that. And again, I encourage anyone who's watching, do take a look at your own portfolio, see like what kind of stuff you might sort of be doing similarly if you've kind of got those same those same kind of like things that you can work out as well. I think let's move on to our next artist. So we've got Nikhila Rane for our next portfolio, and currently she's got experience working in studios, so is definitely in that sort of mid-level position. Martin, where should we go to first? There's a lot to choose here.
Yeah, there's some very nice stuff here. Let's just jump in. Well, let's go to the Seed World stuff on the top left. Yeah.
Brilliant. Hopping straight in.
So, okay. Oh, brilliant materials. There we go. 3D artist responsible on this project, responsible for creating materials for the grassland and sand dune biomes using Substance Designer. Throughout this process, we prioritize efficiency by creating, reusing custom nodes wherever possible, streamline material development and maintain consistency. Perfect. Absolutely fantastic blurb there. Just tells you exactly what they were using, what it was for, and what the focus was. So, and even there we go, some credit as well to the people that they work with.
Brilliant.
Oh, and where they were. Oh, God, there's more. Gosh, yes, the materials were used in floating islands, forest caves, shaping the landscape of SeaWorld. Brilliant.
I wonder if we will see, if we go through here, if we'll end up seeing. I think. Oh, have I gone? I've gone to an accidentally different one. Whoops.
Oh, okay.
My bad. I love ArtStation. So, moving more into some of these.
Great.
Um,
Wow.
Scrolling through these, I wonder if there's any examples of how they've been included.
There's
in
several other bits, so maybe we'll see them in there.
yes.
I mean, if this is for a project as well, this is actually for a title, then sometimes their role is just dedicated to doing that, just making materials. So they may not be something where they're being used, but they're lovely. They're very nice materials. Stylized is anything stylized can be really tricky, but it looks like they've totally nailed this and got on board with the art style. And it's a really good layout as well. Those cylinders, they're just with the materials are just really well presented, and then we've got the different texture page. Texture layers as well just next to it. That's great. It's very well nicely done.
I think we've got a nice hero shot here, including some of her assets and where we can see, especially in the sand material, where those materials are coming in handy. Let's see. Let's scroll down. Some of these.
Yeah, that's nice.
Gosh, there's a lot of photos here. There's also a trailer. I won't be playing the trailer here, but
no, that's fine. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one when it comes to presenting stuff that's from a published title, because there's potentially only so much that they can share. This is a modular kit, so it would have been nice to see that layout of just the individual assets. They might not have been cleared to share that kind of information. So, okay, fair enough. You take what you can get, really. But again, it's really nice. Something I forgot to mention for Emmanuel, and this is really something for all the artists. And this artist has done this here. If you just scroll down to their artwork, let's go back to that last one, because they definitely had it there. On all of their images, they've got their name on there, telling you what it is, the name of the project and whatnot. That information is really valuable on any portfolio image. Get it on all of them. Get your name on there. Get your website on there if you have to, or your portfolio link, something like that. Just obviously an image, so it won't be clickable, but at least it's there, because the amount of times people just screen snip, send it to another artist and go, "Oh, what do you think of this person?" And then it just gets lost in the ether. And if it just becomes an image, and it's like, "That's nice, who made that?" Don't know. Then potentially lost out. So definitely get a formatting where you've got your name on there at the very least, and then some contact information as well, and just telling you what the work is as well. So this is very nicely done. You got the logo for the game as well in the right hand corner. So yeah, stuff like that is really, really valuable.
Excellent. Let's take a look at maybe one or two more of these projects. Where else would you go from here?
Let's take a look at. Let's shift away from the stylized. Let's take a look at that cafe exterior as well. That looks quite nice.
Yeah, street cafe corner.
Street cafe corner. I love street cafes. Okay, concept of. Okay. Did small experiments making smart flower material and some parameters. Okay, again, this is really nice. Good breakdown. This is just personal work. Lovely. There's our materials again. So again, there's 4 materials just laid out there, but they're lit quite nicely, so we can really just see the material response pinging off them. So we can kind of work out that we've got the plastic and we've got the wood. They're not massively strong in terms of materials, but again, I have a feeling this artist likes to lean towards the stylized to a certain degree. Okay. And then we got a smart material video here.
Go through probably like first 30 seconds-ish of this. Because I think in terms of also these videos as well, would you particularly like recommend keeping these videos quite like short, straight to the point, that kind of thing? Because like normally I don't suppose, would you like have the time to be clicking through watching all these different videos?
It depends. It depends on how much of an impact it makes on the portfolio piece, really. Technical Eyes, for example, they normally have quite a lot of videos because their work is far more a process. So you kind of need to be clicking a few buttons to show off their skills on this. This is very nice, and it's obviously something that they set out, and it's 1.5 minutes, so that's not going to hurt anybody, and it tells you exactly what they do here. So yeah, this is absolutely fine.
Perfect.
Very nice.
Brilliant. Should we take a look at one more? Take a look at one more. I think there was some interesting some of the
yeah, let's go for the let's go for the dagger. I want to look at I like the ruins as well, but we'll go for the dagger because this is a prop. So here we go, part of practicing realistic props. So this is definitely a shift across. Wireframe straight away, love it. We do like the wireframes. Very nice. Now from there, there's your normal textures.
That is and that's the end of this one here.
That's nice. That's short and sweet. It's very good. With props, what you can always do is embed something into like a marmoset or a Sketchfab viewer and get that in there as well, which is always quite nice. Because a prop of this particular size, it's not going to take up a lot of time to load up and just view. And then we can kind of just see the material response on these things. It's a very nice asset there. And once again, it's presented quite nicely. We've got the name, we've got the email address there, and the name of it also. Yeah, it's nice. Scroll back up to the wireframe.
Yeah, let's go back up to this wireframe. Here we are.
There you go. Yeah, it's very nice. That's definitely, that's modeled with the intention of being a game asset. It's a really good model actually, because that looks quite low. It'd be nice to have some more detail on that, just saying how many polys that is, because it doesn't look like a lot, which is good, because if you scroll up again with the Ys turned off, that gets the job done really well. It's a nice asset. Yeah, good stuff.
Do you have any final words in terms of impressions on Nikhila's portfolio, potentially any little bits of improvement points? Because I think it seems like she's very much going in the right direction here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's quite strong. It's possibly leaning more towards the stylized, but if that's something that they really want to focus on, then okay. It kind of limits your appeal to different studios. So a bit of more real world examples would be nice. It's probably the next thing I'd move on to if I was setting myself a personal task. I really want to look at that ruins, but I know we've got other ones to look at. But no, it's very well presented. So which is good. I think, there's definitely is interview potential for this portfolio, because it gives the viewer everything they really need to know. Yeah. Fantastic.
Brilliant. Well, I think without further ado, let's take a look at her resume as well. So got a resume here. Bethany, this is a one page CV.
We love a one-page CV. I think if you're starting to fill up 2 pages, fine. If you're heading for the 3rd, maybe reevaluate if we need all of that information in there. Again, highlighting what it is that is most important to the job you're applying for. I really liked Nikhila's profile. It's very clear what you've done and what you're looking for. That's actually a really big thing. A lot of people focus a lot on what they've done in their opening statement. And actually, a lot of the time, what I'm trying to find out is what you're looking for and your motivations then, without having to do a whole cover letter of why you've applied for that position, how it aligns with what you're looking for in your next position. So I thought that was really lovely. Also really liked that you put your, what they call job titles. I should know that word. Couldn't think about then. Job titles first, really clear, again, then followed by the company name. A lot of times people miss things like that off. And also what I think was really great about this is that this sentence underneath each, the dates of employment, just summing up, this is what I was employed to do, and this is what I did with it, and this is a system that I use. So you've immediately got a keyword of Unreal Engine 5 there. So it's things like that we'd look for. These kind of CVs where the formatting is slightly different. So that there was a couple of different fonts in this CV, which is only if you're being incredibly picky. And it is consistent all the way through. So I don't actually have that much of a problem with it. It's just something that some people, they prefer it all in one font style, for example. But again, that's being very picky. When I opened this, I think I said to you earlier, Harry, I couldn't access the links. And I think it's the way that I was viewing the PDF, but it's just a point to make sure that your links do work, and that you've included one. There's a lot of people that we have to follow up with and say, please, could you send a link to your portfolio because it's not on your CV. That should be a piece of information that never moves from the top of the page, in my humble opinion. And something else that's really interesting that you've included is actually nationality. There's not something that I would ever suggest to put on your CV, because I don't think it's that I don't think it's relevant to your application. If you want to keep it there and that's your personal information, that's absolutely fine. But just be aware of things like that. And you've mentioned a location. So another thing that sometimes is really helpful to see quite early on is if you're open to relocation, if you're looking for a fully remote opportunity, what kind of thing you're looking for is quite handy. Again, just looking for those immediate pieces of information to know if that's the right fit for a position. And something else that I thought was really interesting, where you've got the skills, is the bars and how full they are. And it looks really lovely. But something that I've sort of always thought about this, and you will probably speak to other people who have very different opinions again, so don't take all of this as right or wrong. But I have no point of reference for what that bar is. And nor does anybody else really reading your CV. So if you give yourself an 8 out of 10, what is 10 and what is 1 to you? And also, how do you know where you compare to other people, if that makes sense? So I give myself like a 3 out of 5 on Excel, but my 3 out of 5 might be somebody else's 5, and they think that they've nailed Excel and got it down. So I think it's not a problem to have them on there, but I think just a lot of people fall into a trap of going, oh, I'm 4 out of 5 on this. And it's like, but ask yourself, so I've just said I'm a 3 out of 5 on Excel. Well, if I don't know how to do something, I can Google it and then I can make it work. So for some people, that would be a 5. I just think where there's no point of reference for that, that sometimes can be a bit tricky, especially if you're looking for somebody that is, 100% on modeling and you've put yourself not quite at the top there. It's an interesting one. And again, people will give very different opinions on things like this. But for me, reading it doesn't massively mean anything because I have no idea what your point of reference is personally.
I 100% agree.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's the same because I read these and think, especially with the percentages, that like, oh, you know everything.
Yes.
Because realistically, for like Photoshop or something, I probably know about 15% of Photoshop, but that's the stuff I need to know.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a tricky one to gauge. Things like that, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I just think it you could be really selling yourself short by putting those things in. But again, you could see all of the systems that you'd used before, which was great just to have them listed. It's also good because in terms of searches, sometimes if we're looking for a really specific piece of software, that's what I'll search on. So the more things that you put in like that, the more searchable your CV becomes, the higher up it will come in search results, for example. So yeah, I thought this was lovely, really to the point, highlighted all of the main things that you've done, really clear companies. That was great. The length of tenure in each one, that's fine. But yeah, just the one thing that I wanted to mention was just those bars.
Great. Yeah, I especially like the point about the bars. I've toyed and experimented in my own kind of portfolios, thinking about putting those in there, but I've been like, I don't know why I would really put a lot of I don't know what I'd really do for a lot of those. So I think just keeping it kind of streamlined, that seems like a really valuable learning point. Yeah, Nikhila, thank you so much for putting in your portfolio. I see you're in the chat. Thank you for the review, Martin. So there we go, live in the chat. And if anybody does have any questions for Bethany and Martin, just even about anything, can be a little bit more on the sort of generic side about like portfolios, please do send them in the chat. I'll like weave them into our little discussion here. But I think while we sort of go on it, let's go for the next portfolio. We next have up Leighton Potter, who is a 3D artist. Seems he's got very much of a props portfolio, Martin.
Okay, right. Let's jump in. Let's go for the crossbow. I normally gravitate to go left to right really because I think our station normally puts it in like most recent work in order. So yeah, 3 months ago. Cool. Also time during the mentorship with. Okay. Okay, typical process. Okay, all right. So this was mentorship for a training project. All right, good stuff. Looks very nice so far.
Seeing the little adding a little name to the bottom again.
Nice.
Good. With hero assets and zoom ins.
Yes. Some very nice materials in there. Wireframe. Oh, okay.
Oh, it seems a GIF, I think.
It's going to do its thing.
Here we are.
There we go. Lovely.
Nice.
Love an animation.
Okay. All right.
Brilliant. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
continue moving on down here.
Going.
I think they've done it
Yep.
to kind of keep it paused. It's good. Full wireframe overviews from some angles and I think some materials over here.
Okay. Oh, that's nice.
Brilliant.
Just cycle through them and then we have the cross sections. Okay, that's cool. That's good.
Excellent. And yeah, that's towards the bottom. I'll leave us on the wireframes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like my
leave on the
wireframes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is nice. So we've got the checkerboard texture on there. I forget the official name for it, but that's nice because that basically just shows out, helps show that it's a consistent UV layout having the checkerboards in there, and we can tell that there's no. Basically, if we start seeing any letters that are stretched on there or anything like that, then we can see that the layout's not accurate really. But this looks very, very accurate. I think wireframe for an asset like this looks quite high. There's an awful lot of subdivisions in there, so this is it's not necessarily a bad thing. I suppose it depends what it's for. If it's a first-person game, then sure, maybe we can warrant this many in there. Yeah, there's quite a bit. It's quite inconsistent as well in its mesh distribution. If we look at the, I know nothing about crossbows, so I'm just going to say the front bit there. You can kind of see there's not a lot of polys in there. And then when we compare it to, we start going straight into the arrowheads and stuff, and they're remarkably
The shooty
detailed.
bit.
The shooty bits. So it's we look at the arrows and stuff, and they're incredibly detailed. And if it's a first person and we're taking aim with that, then that arrowhead's actually all the way down there, and you're never going to get that close unless maybe there's a animation of it getting loaded and then all that kinds of stuff. Who knows? It's I don't know how these things work. So there's an awful lot of polys in there. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it's definitely something to be mindful of because we need to know what this is for. So yeah, I think that bit of that needs to kind of go into there. I mean, this was just a challenge really, but and it may not have been a game art one. I'd probably my next step would be just to click on the link for the ArtStation link there and just get a bit more understanding of what the mentorship was all about really, and whether it was game specific or just 3D modeling really.
Brilliant. Yeah, we can kind of go to left to right. There's a Dalek over here.
There's a Dalek. We'll do.
Interesting.
You know what? We'll do the Dalek, then we'll do the bike because they look quite. There's a lot going on there. So
brilliant.
Lovely. Good old Dalek. There we are. Working in this over the last week. Okay, a week. Not bad. It's okay. 3 texture sets. Oh, he's in Unreal. There we go. We're going to make him move.
Yeah, 130k polys with 3 texture sets, 1 separate emissive texture for the lights.
Okay. That's cool. Okay, I would probably rethink the video. I'm gonna, we'll do the video quickly. I'll rethink that one because we're not seeing it in full screen. We're seeing all the kind of fiddlings around of it in the viewport, and then we quit to the game and see all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of kind of behind the scenes stuff really that we don't need to see. We've got all the stuff on the outliner and stuff like that. Just rectangle 42, rectangle 43, rectangle. Okay. Makes you seem. I would want to see that kind of stuff. If I think what we're doing is just showcasing the materials and stuff within the scene, but the camera's all over the place. We're zooming in really quickly. I'm getting travel sick looking at it. So I honestly pop it on just give it a rotating animation blueprint. Literally just a very slow rotation. Pop a couple of 3-point lighting scene together and just record that. And throw it in there. And that's all you need to do. This is quite jarring and quite, it's very quick, the motions. So it's hard to kind of gauge what we're looking at there.
I think as we go down here, we're getting into our wireframes.
Okay.
I think my wireframes, or they could be Blender.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. This is cool.
That's towards the bottom. So Let's move back up.
So no texture pages. Did I not see any?
Yeah, no pages for textures, I believe.
But
If I scroll down here.
so it's a shame it says there's 3 texture sets, but we're not showing any of those things off, which is a bit of a shame. It's a lot of wireframes, a lot of polys as well for this. It's very accurate though. It certainly looks like a Dalek. So points to there. Yeah. I think again it depends what it's for. If it's a character, then I think it's a sensible poly count. If you're playing as this Dalek and it's right there up on the screen, then I think that's fine. If it was an NPC, and probably trim that poly count down a little bit, or just show us it with LODs and just demonstrate how they can look with that kind of stuff. That's always quite nice to see. A lot of the modeling looks like it's kind of like cut in there, but don't be afraid to just intersect certain geometry if you need to. We've got all the I'm just going to say it. We've got all the balls along the side of it, and they look like they're all kind of just cut into the geometry, which there may be a reason for doing that, but I would definitely have. Maybe Leighton did try to just intersect them all to begin with and see how that looked, and perhaps you just weren't getting the right render. So it adds to the poly count. That stuff does add up. There's a lot of subdivisions down along the bottom as well. I think with a Dalek, because they are machines, they're not quite organic. So there's no reason why all these verts need to be lined up and attached. That whole base can probably be quite simplified. If you look at how it's all kind of like how it's constructed, there's subdivisions, like 3 subdivisions running along all these those lengths. You can probably strip those out, and the model would look just as good. So I'd find places to optimize if you need to. That's the poly count's not massively concerning as long as you kind of like say what it's for. But looking at the wireframes and just seeing how it's constructed, if there's a lot of stray polys and just stuff that's there, then that's more of a worry, because you could work to optimize that. And again, a nice, clean, efficient models is what we're looking for.
Brilliant. Great. Great feedback, I think. Let's take a look at that bike model, which we want to take a look at for our last little bit of this. Here we are. BT BMX bike. BMX model in Maya, based on of course by JL Musi. Couldn't have asked for a better resource to jump back into Maya again and brush up on my skills and learn some neat new tricks to speed up my workflow. Brilliant.
Okay.
Let's take a peek through. Here we are. We've got the polys again. The wireframes for this as well.
Okay.
Quite high poly, I think.
Yes, I agree. There's an awful lot of details in here.
Can I ask a question then, Martin?
Sure.
So when it's a like a graduate CV or not graduate, but somebody who's maybe more entry level, do you think it's better to show something that's refined, or do you think it's better to show all of the detail, to show all of what you can do if you've not got loads of like professional work pieces to talk about?
Sorry, I got distracted. Captain Crayon posted a comment. I think if you're applying for a game job, then we need to know that you can make game assets, because if you can't and we hire you, then that's an awful lot of time that we need to invest to get you up to speed. So there's a lot of polys here. If this is intended again as a kind of like a cycling game or something like that, a BMX simulator, maybe you can get away with this. But there's just a lot of detail in there that could get baked down and used into the normal maps and things like that. And looking, there isn't any normal maps or anything like that. So yeah, these seem quite poly heavy. I think Leighton's actually in the chat. Hi, Leighton.
Yes.
Here
we go.
Do you want to? Okay, I see.
Yes, let's bring up these. Yes, thank you so much for commenting this, Leighton.
Great.
That really helps to have you in the chat to ask for these. To our guitar and gold with game assets.
If Leighton's here, Leighton, which one would you like us to look at? The sitar or the what was it? The golden ornament.
Let's take a.
Come on, Leighton. What are you most proud of?
In the spotlight. The guitar. Okay,
Okay.
guitar it is. We're taking a quick peek at the guitar. Let's do this.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, we'll take a quick peek at this guitar. Here we are.
Infinity 27 Upskills Bootcamp. Okay.
Ooh.
Right, rendered in Marmoset and Unreal. Ah, okay, look at there they are. These polys looking a little bit more sensible now.
Ah, brilliant.
Yes. Okay, that's a nice layout. That's much better presented there. So, okay. Ah, there we are. We even have a Marmoset. It's a Marmoset Toolbug Viewer.
I think it is, yes.
Lovely. There we go. And we can really get close and take a look at things like that. So, always nice to see. I'm going to let's jump straight into the topology, shall we?
Yes.
That's always my favorite. Actually, if you want, do it in the viewer. That's
Yeah, sure. I actually don't know how to use this, so
okay.
Let's work it out in real time. You know, is there a way I can?
If you just click on the actual wireframe section, that should split it all out. Should. No.
Ah, here we are.
There we go.
Right clicked on it.
And then, yeah, zoom into the head. So a lot of the polys have gone to the head. It's quite ornamental, so that's okay. It doesn't look too heavily polyed. I think we can you can probably trim down a few polys there as well. But no, I kind of see this as like a hero prop, really. I think, with just the way it's been, we've got all these ornamental sections added to it, so it's not too bad. I think modeling the strings themselves is perhaps a little bit overkill, but again, if we're making like sitar hero or something like that, then maybe we get really close and we can see that kind of stuff. So
trademark that quick.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Someone who is listening. Oh my god, there's a game there.
That'll bring the franchise back to life, I hope. Yeah, again, there's a nice mixture here of normal maps and detail in the geometry. But again, there's quite a lot of edge loops in here. I think you could probably cut a few of these things out. But again, the mesh distribution is kind of it's inconsistent, really. If we look at the face of it here, that looks quite nice. What we're looking at there, that's quite clean. But then literally, as we just go around the corner, we've got tons and tons of edge loops there. And I bet if you took out pretty much all of those to the next main poly, you probably wouldn't see a huge difference. And again, we've kind of got some edge loops that are leading around to something, and maybe they're impacting the shape, and that affects it as it's being lit properly. But I don't know. That looks quite flat going off here. I need to have look a little bit closer. Trust your normal maps. I agree.
Oh,
but
yeah, it's a little bit of a.
Oh, there's a little hole. Well spotted.
Oh no. Apologies, I didn't mean to notice that.
Quick zoom out. Don't worry. That's
there you go. Yeah,
that's an easy fix. That's an easy fix, Leighton. Don't you worry.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely more game ready. I think there's still quite a lot of polys. I mean, especially at the bottom as well there. Yeah, I think when you're making props like this, then you should probably just say what you intend them to be in. The wonderful catch-all is just to say it's a scene prop for a first-person shooter, because then if you have got a few more polys, then you can say, yeah, it's for a shooter, so you're going to get really close to it and get away with that. Don't say it's for like third person, because then, yeah, you'll have to totally decimate those polys.
Awesome. Yeah. So, like, in a nutshell, last little bits of advice for Leighton on how to like easily improve onto the next step here.
I'd say your portfolio is quite a mixed bag at the moment. So work out what you want to be. Do you want to be a game artist? Do you want to just be a 3D generalist? And if you want to work into the industry, I definitely want to see more props. If you want to be a prop artist, then just start diversifying yourself for game props. And those can be anything, from wheelie bins to fire hydrants and things like that. But just be mindful on your poly counts. Take a look at the games, actually load up games and zoom in. A lot of games have photo mode, look at like Forza and stuff like that. I do that. I literally grab my artists and we just play through Forza and things like that and look at the photo mode and zoom really, really into the things that you're not supposed to be looking at. And you're like, gosh, that drain pipe's only got 6 polys. But that's enough. That's all they need. Ship it. So you can get away with an awful lot with limited polys. Set yourself challenges for that kind of stuff as well, which is always fun.
Fabulous. Awesome. So let's move on to the final CV.
Cool.
Let's move on to the final CV, Bethany.
I don't
Here we
know if
are.
you agree with this, Martin, but it's been nice to see all of the wireframes on these portfolios, because I feel like on over 50% that we look at, they don't have any of that, any breakdown. They just have the piece. The other thing that we find a lot as well, which is a more generic thing and not aimed at your profile, Leighton, but is there'll be like a particularly when it's environment related, a whole scene, and it's quite hard to pick out what you've actually done in that when it says at the side, oh, this was made with a team of artists, and that's really cool and it's a really nice piece, but we have no idea what you contributed to it. So I think that's what you were saying earlier as well, with like pointing out context and writing, this is what I did.
I absolutely agree. The wireframes tell us so much, and Leighton in particular, you've focused in on those wireframes, which is really helpful, because sometimes we'll get wireframes and it's if the model's quite high poly and it's just a shot of the whole asset, it's just we can't see the wireframes clearly enough. So having some choice sections of the key areas of an asset, if you just send in screenshots, which you've done there, Leighton, that's great. That's really helpful.
That was cool. So yeah, sorry. Anyway,
Brilliant.
this is TV. So again, really nicely laid out with your different subject headings, or what are they called? Section headings, I guess.
Headers. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. To be able to find the things quite quickly. I would say it's quite a long CV. And I would be tempted to try and cut some of this down. I would take off your references, and most people just put references available upon request. And also, again, I think maybe your GCSEs. You can keep them if you want to, but I think for what you're applying for, the most important things are here, your degree and your BTEC that you've got. And then try and shrink the spacing so that when I see I put the name of your course at the top, your university underneath, and the dates underneath that, because it's not so important that you went to Teesside University. It's important the course that you got and the grade that you graduated with. So again, much with the others, about just making the most important information the most visible thing and the first thing that I'm going to read. And it's just much easier to then go, oh, okay, we're on. You sort of start to build a picture as you work through the CV, just with the top lines, which is always helpful. If you go back up slightly,
We'll go up to the experience area.
Yes, if you go up to, because Leighton's at Rane Kitchens, yes, at the moment. I personally would put your job title first and put the company name underneath. Again, it's more what you're doing, not necessarily where you're doing it at this stage, particularly if you're looking for a first opportunity in games. And I know that it's very easy to want to put loads and loads of information when you feel like you maybe don't have loads to talk about, because I've definitely been in that situation when you're like trying to get your first position out of education and things like that. You sort of want to over communicate all the things that you've done. So I would just make that, again, 3D artist at the top, most clear thing. It makes me more focused on what you've done rather than where you're doing it. So what your capabilities are, I would say, is pretty interesting. Your bullet points are great. I think if you read it through again, there's a couple of bits that are a bit repeaty in the paragraph and the points underneath. But I think where you put things like this ran through Unity, so getting a balance of optimization and qualities at the forefront, and where you've related it actually back to customers are able to walk through as if it were a regular game environment. I think that's quite clever, with relating it back, even if it's not directly working in game. So I think it's cool that you keep that and kind of highlight that you've got that in mind. And just above this in the skills section,
Here,
key skills. Sorry, I've done the CV completely backwards.
No,
sorry.
it's brilliant. Love it.
Probably not that helpful.
I mean, no, the goal is to kind of see like how people like read through these kind of CVs. So hey, even if it's a bit like back to front, then brilliant. Love that.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry about that, Leighton. In fact, I had to take notes backwards. But key skills. So I think here, what you really need to do, you've done it. You've put the systems that you use. Things like attentive and punctual are great. I kind of expect that from companies, expect that from you. So I think you can take things out like that. Although it's good to kind of highlight things like attention to detail, because again, that's relevant for a position. And it is excellent that you're attentive and punctual. But is it your top skill? being attentive and punctual and on time to work, no, I don't think so. I think your skills are clearly here are in Maya and Blender and Substance Painter. Put them at the top. And if you can, with your personal statement, it's lovely what you've written and you can tell that you're obviously passionate. I think just try and shrink it down a little bit. Focus on what you want to do. And don't forget that a lot of the time your CV will go in conjunction with a cover letter where you can put a bit more detail about what your main passions are and how you've got there. But I think, just keep it concise. Put the most important things at the top, your systems that you've used. Keep being attentive and punctual. Don't let that one slide, because it doesn't matter how talented you are. Doesn't go down well if you're late all the time. But it's just not the most important thing. So I think, make it super easy. Think about the top 10 things that you're great at and try and find a way to put that at the top bullet points across your CV. Make it so that people can find what they're looking for super quickly. But I think nicely laid out. Really appreciate the subject headings as well. And the content is good. Just try and make it a bit more concise.
Brilliant. Honestly, fantastic. So that'll basically be it for the portfolio today. Bethany, Martin, thank you so much for coming on. Do either of you have any last words of advice for 3D artists? Just based on basically what we've seen today, common trends of what 3D artists can be doing to make their portfolios just that little bit better?
I have things that stand out. The amount of fire hydrants and AK-47s I see is too many, and they're usually from like those substance tutorials that you do. It's like, that's great that you've done that tutorial, but now take what you've learned and apply it to something of your own. So yeah, things like that really, and try and make your portfolio varied, because then we can just see the breadth of your skill set. And finally, finish your work. Be a bit more sitar hero.
Brilliant.
I'm telling you, got a pitch right here.
That's such a fantastic pitch.
I'm going to Google it after this. I'm going to Google it. I bet it's been done.
Wow. Well, maybe if there's a game jam happening soon, that's something to definitely go for. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. If you do have any questions, if you're watching, have any questions about portfolio reviews or even about 3D art portfolios in general, we've got a Discord. It's currently going along the bottom. Please let us, please ask us any questions. I'll, ping them over, see what we can, see what answers we can basically get to you. And if you're looking to be a part of a portfolio review, take a look at our form in the description below, and you can basically apply to be on one of our next parts of the series. But yeah. Thank you so much, Bethany. Thank you so much, Martin. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to come and help us with this. And yeah, thank you so much for everyone for watching. And we will see you next week for another Games Jobs Live stream. Thank you very much, everybody.